Hello, everybody. My name is Jorrel from Mintplex, if it wasn't obvious. As always, joined by my co-founder and CEO, CTO, Mr. Timothy Carambat.
Yay!
Yeah, it's like a staple now. I just add that. Actually, that sound is just in all my templates now for that. It's just like automatically Timothy Carambat, and it's just like that sound will always pop up. But anyways, this is the 16th episode of the Mintplexity podcast. I can't believe we've been doing this for 16 different weeks.
20 is right around the corner.
I know. We said that about 10. We were like, oh my gosh, we hit 10. And now it's like we're 4 away from 20. That's actually wild. And things have not slowed down is basically all I have to say. Things have only continued to speed up. It's already March and it's been crazy out there. It's been rough out there. But Mintplex is as strong as ever because we're just built different, you know? We're just built different. So sorry, y'all competitors out there. You got nothing on us. I'm sorry. That's just, we're the dream team. I don't know what to tell you.
Team's getting bigger too. That's it. Team's only getting bigger over time.
And we can't tell you who yet, but we did just manage to bring somebody new on board.
Absolute ace.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild having a third person on this team. You know, sorry, Bren, from over a year ago. You are now officially being replaced. If you watch this again, Bren, my bad.
I don't think he's watching our podcast.
Hey, who knows, man? He could bring it up. You know, we still have a group chat with him. Still a homie. But aside from that, we've had a lot of updates in this last week. Not only from the coming off of the SVB stuff, but you know, we still build. In the downturn, we still build. And even though it was chaotic as hell, Mr. Timothy Carambat came through, you know, like he launched 2 really big, awesome things in this last week that we'll dive into. And then afterwards, we'll talk about, you know, some of the market conditions going on here, as well as some of the, you know, re-updates, not really re-updates, maybe revisiting of the ordinal stuff, since there are some big movers in this space. And that'll be the podcast. I mean, we have a lot to talk about, those topics alone. So with that, let's just dive right in, Tim. What did you do this week, Tim? What did you do? Like,
what did you even do this week?
Tell all the listeners out there.
Let's talk about what got done this week on Mintplex. That's going to make your life and your project a lot better. So first is for Mintplex, for the ERC 721, which is, you know, by far and away what the majority of people are launching with still to this day, which is fine. You know, if it fits your project, we made it 10 times cheaper to deploy. Now we've talked about this before. Mintplex's entire ethos is kind of optionality and creator control. One of the things that we've always done is given you your own independent contract that you can customize, you know, with your ASCII art at the top and all of these other features that you get to pick and choose and all of that stuff. And that will always be the case with Mintplex, no matter what contract you choose. But we've now provided a very simple, we'll call it a template. It comes with mint price, wallet max mints per transaction, collection size, as you would imagine, allow listing, like all of the basics. But you can deploy this contract for probably around $15 USD. So very, very little to deploy this contract. And it gives you all the power of Mintplex still. You just don't get the customization, which is, you know, some people are fine with that, because for some people, it's not about, you know, the contract. It's about the experience that they're trying to build. And if all they need are the basics, which is absolutely fine, you can do that now. Another update that we have is we actually launched our game. So it's a tech demo. Let me not say it's a game, I guess. We don't think we're a game company. It is a tech demo. You can find it at Chainslayers.mintplex.xyz. And it is the game Doom, if you remember that game from like the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s. One of the first and best PC games. And so, awesome game. It's totally free to mint. It's all on testnet, so it's not even real ETH. But as you play, your character's stats will update over time, and there is a very crypto-specific Easter egg for the final boss. You can play it on any difficulty you want, but just know that when you play on a certain difficulty, your character's attributes will reflect that. So if you're playing on the easiest baby mode, the world will know that you're actually not gamer enough to do any of the harder difficulties. So that's on you.
I mean, hey, that's the point. That's the point of these NFT badges, yo. Like, if you're gonna play the game, everybody gonna know. So
yeah, exactly. And if you cheat, go ahead, try. There are cheats for the original Doom, and they still work. And they still work in this game. And if you use them, you will pay the price. So
yeah, a hefty price. Nothing. You can't take anything back once you do it.
Yeah, once you do it, it's irrecoverable. So go ahead and do it. If you want to try a cheat in the game, God mode is when you're playing, you just do IDDQD. That is the original cheat for Doom for God mode. Go ahead, type that in and see what happens to your character. As far as other updates go, no real, I guess, more like product updates that we're ready to release. But we do have, I guess, a hint. We are about to drop a version of open editions that will make every other open edition that you've ever seen minted on, Zora, Manifold, wherever. It's going to make it seem like they're gonna seem ridiculous compared to what you're going to be able to do on this open edition. Don't want to give away too much now. We'll save that for the next podcast. But this is the open edition to end all open editions. So you'll learn about that soon.
Yeah, to take a word from our competitors' marketing collateral. Oh, we're changing history, guys.
That's the lamest thing you could ever say. Yeah, we're actually doing that though. So yeah, you'll see. It should be live probably around next week. And you'll be able to launch a very specific open edition with us. Of course, you'll be able to deploy it for only a couple bucks. It'll be very cheap to deploy, and it will give you, like I just mentioned, God mode. This will be God mode on chain. Creators are going to love this, and we're just actually excited to see what y'all build. Some other stuff that I just want to do before we get into the actual news, because this update part going a little long. Just shout out to some of our creators, like to the people that comment on our YouTube videos, like low key, thank y'all. Like we actually appreciate that. I know we obviously like joke around and like talk a lot of shit and all that stuff, but like legitimately though, like what we're doing isn't possible without y'all. And so to all the people that are commenting on the video and you know who we are, we like y'all's comments, we respond to y'all. To the people who reach out on Intercom and say nice things, and people on Twitter who just like got our back and stuff like that. Without y'all, we're nothing. And so we're super, super appreciative of that. Also, there was one user, I think it was Pop Visley. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Yeah,
they reached out on Intercom and had said that their whole drop, their strategy was to do everything with Mintplex, go on testnet just to be familiar with the flow, and then market the NFT and go out and do outreach and build a community before going to mainnet. And I almost cried. That is what we have been saying since the very first podcast of what it takes for an NFT project to be successful. And I'm super glad that people are now adopting the strategy of you have to put in the legwork to build the community, and then you can launch the NFT. So we make the technical part easy. You have to do the community part. You can't automate that. Sorry. Even with GPT-4s out, you can't automate the community part. You still got to do it yourself. So shout out to them for just, absolutely cracking the code on NFTs. And yeah, hopefully that goes well. But to everybody else, also just keep on keeping on. And yeah, thank y'all for your support.
Yeah. And as always, test on testnet. That's where we'll leave the updates there. We do have a couple other new contracts in the works. Not new. We've been teasing subscriptions for a while. So that is something we'll be talking about likely in the next podcast, along with the other proxy contracts that we're working on. So we'll leave that for next time. Let's move on to something that's a bit more relevant, some more recently news wise. So what's the stuff going with ordinals? I know we didn't really shit on it last episode, but we did mention that it's kind of just odd, like why, right? And so
I think the ordinals news, like you find with a lot of these kind of like, I guess you would say, quote unquote, like bag holding NFTs, they're pumped by influencers, right? Is the ordinals tech independent of these influencers shilling whatever it is that they're trying to dump on their followers? Is it impressive? I think it's cool. Like, I think the ordinal stuff is cool. Like anywhere that you can put something permanently, right? Well, permanent is kind of in quotes, because if everyone stopped running Bitcoin nodes, it wouldn't be permanent anyway. But I guess that's never going to happen, maybe. But But either way, the ordinal stuff is cool. It is a way to put NFTs on chain. I think a lot more work needs to be done on the tech side to make it easier for people to mint. I mean, for example, you want to mint an NFT on ETH, you just click our mint button and now you've minted. You want to mint something on ordinals, you have to upload an image. The size of the image depends on how much you pay, and then also it will take anywhere from 3 days to 1 week for your image to mint. Which people already complain about how they minted and their NFT isn't showing up on OpenSea. I can't imagine what a 3-day window for minting might look like. I think that would be a very bad UX for a lot of people. But one thing that is interesting that is going on with ordinals, as people who are in this space might know, is that DeGods is kind of throwing caution to the wind and just putting their shit on every single chain that they can put it on. So now they're doing a new mint, which I really don't understand, that they're going to charge 0.4 ETH-ish I'm sorry, 0.4 BTC, for this mint, which, by the way, is what is the number for point? Well, they knocked it down. They gave everybody a discount. Now now it's 0.3 BTC. How much is 0.3 Bitcoin right now?
Dude, I don't know.
I have no idea. Let me see. I'll do the conversion right now live for everybody. So 0.3 BTC is pretty much $8,000. So this is an $8,000 mint, which, by the way, you know how you go into a site, like if you're using a Mintplex or if you're using whatever, you just click a button and you mint. That's not how minting works on ordinals. That functionality does not exist yet. And so the minting is not actually minting. It's more like I paid for this and I'll eventually get it kind of deal. I think the overall strategy that DeGods is coming at people with, which is all big projects in the future will be across chains, which I think is I honestly think that's an awesome solution. And that's the reason we support multiple chains, because there is no such thing as a one chain future. We wouldn't support multiple chains if we only believed in one. And so I do think that the wisdom of putting your NFT project on multiple chains is wise. But ultimately, I think this in this market, with everything that's been going on, especially with where they started, which was Solana, it does kind of feel, it just doesn't feel very community focused, right? If the mint was 0.03 BTC, which would still be a good amount of money, that would feel more like, oh, we're trying to expand on a chain rather than a cash grab. And that's what the majority of pushback has been, is that this is a cash grab.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the hype train kind of situation. You know what I mean? If you take advantage of first mover, I guess first mover advantage, I guess the right word for it. You could find yourself being the quote unquote blue chip for that chain, or that blue chip for that protocol, or whatever it may be. And I think that's really the logic they're operating off of, instead of, okay, do people actually want this? Right.
Right. I mean, look no further than what happened with Yuga's 12-fold drop. Nobody is talking about that right now. And nobody was excited after reveal of what they got. Everyone was kind of holistically underwhelmed about the entire kind of process, which I think is actually more of a reflection of how they did it than it is the tech of ordinals. I think ordinals tech works fine. I think it's cool. I think it's useful, but you can't try to emulate the current zeitgeist for minting on Bitcoin. It's a totally different flow. And I think how you go about it is very important. I think Yuga went about it very poorly. And I think DeGods is also going about it very poorly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are we surprised though?
No,
not entirely, it's also every time there's some new trend, that project Frank always has to make a statement that we're doing this, we're doing that. Oh, the Utes, this, it's just, at the end of the day, it's just a lot of noise, and it makes it very hard for the community to really trust you if you flip flop so much and don't have consistency in which chain you want to operate on. Because it really doesn't matter what chain. It really shouldn't matter what chain.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't matter. It should matter about the community. The chain should just be the tech that powers it. Like, that's it. That's all it should be. Like, nobody cares, like what server Discord runs on or anything like that. Think of any service you're a fan of. Nobody cares about what it's running on. We've talked about this before. The blockchain's a technology, and it's like if they came out with a new database and the service you were using was just tweeting constantly about, oh, we're migrating to this new database. And it's like, you as a user don't care because that doesn't benefit you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just hype chasing. And like, I feel like the more they do that, the more it over diversifies their kind of like entire, like, I guess you would say like administration team. They have too many hands and too many pots. It's going to be too much to manage with all of these different pieces of tech and all these different chains that all have different communities. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just burden, man. Like you get into this situation where like when you do spread yourself so thin, your burn rate just continues to increase. And like, I mean, it's so marginal. I think we talked about this, I don't think on a podcast, but there really is a limit to how many times you can squeeze money out of your community, right? Without providing additional value.
The unfortunate thing is that you say the word squeeze, right? It shouldn't feel like squeezing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't feel like squeezing. It should feel like a community, right? And a community want to support things. Music NFTs, I feel like, don't have this issue. Although some musicians, it does feel like, are trying to squeeze money out of their communities now, where some other musicians are doing drop for the love of the art, and it happens to be on chain, and people show their support on chain. And that's genuine. That's a real community. And then some artists are just like, oh, I'm going to only mint music NFTs over and over and over so that I can keep making money because my first one, I made a whole bunch of money, and it's like, it feels a lot less genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, honestly, like, shout out to Vega. Like, seriously, like, what he's doing, I feel like, is the most genuine, approachable form of building a community using music NFTs. The mint is free. The mint is completely free, but you can choose to pay what you want. Sound? No. With sound, you pay a fixed price. That's it. Go fuck yourself. Like, I don't think that that's fair. Like, if people support musicians, these up and coming ones, I think it's important that they should be able to be like, okay, I don't have the capital, but I do want to show my support by minting. That's important. Or I do have the capital. Here's 0.01.
Mm-hmm.
Both those people are community members. Like, I don't know. I get a little passionate about it, but yeah, shout out to Vega for at least doing something original. So,
yeah, I mean, we have nothing to apologize for, Tim. We're allowed to be passionate about this because this is the problem that you and I set out to solve, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of our partners and current companies that are former companies that we worked with who are all, slowly disappearing from the space. Not anything bad like against them, but like if they didn't solve a use case or they weren't really trying to fix a problem, like they weren't going to last long in this space because now that all the hype is focused on AI, like you have to provide some level of value. You have to like,
which also I think now is the quintessential time to reiterate something that we did, I think in maybe the third or fourth, somewhere like less than 5 podcast number, where one of us had mentioned that if you are a Web3 company and AI is the new wave, right? And you pivot from Web3 to AI thinking that will solve any business struggle that you may have had in Web3, you are trading the same problems for a different like environment. With Web3, there are no moats with smart contracts. Nobody cares about smart contracts. It's all about the tooling and the experience that you allow people to build. Like, that is what the benefit is. With AI, it's the same thing. There's no moat. If everyone uses the OpenAI API, which they all are, because it is by far the most powerful AI that's out there, and also the API makes it beautifully easy to integrate, everyone can just copy each other's product. You need to be building unique value beyond that. And you may think, oh, well, this use case doesn't exist yet. It's all about what's the friction for someone to copy it. Like how many, like, for example, like Levels photo create generator, right? How many copies exist of that now, right? And it's only a matter of time before it becomes even easier to copy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the same thing. It's like if everyone made a business selling smart contracts at this point in the market, they'd all be gone. Because nobody cares. You can just copy paste it from the chain, deploy it yourself. There's no there's no thing there. There's no moat there. There's no actual value being created. So just like with Web3, moated value is value that you can provide that's essentially off-chain or augmented. With AI, the moat will be the data that you use to train your model that nobody else can get.
Exactly.
Just worth reiterating that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why it's like, even for us, like I was pestering Tim the other day. I was like, Tim, you gotta go and experiment with AI stuff. And the reason is, even for us, like as much as we're focused on developing tools for all y'all listeners out there and making this whole thing happen, the AI stuff actually affects every like aspect of tech, right? So we're constantly exploring how do we continue to create our moat? How do we continue to create, that value that'll continue to bring y'all into the space and be excited about what Web3 and NFTs can do, right? And so, and that's never going to go away. With that's how we survive as a business. Honestly, is how do we continue to generate that? And don't be surprised as more and more of our peers start dissolving in these next few months, few weeks. But we did get one partner though replaced, and that was we were able to replace Mint Party with Deform. So just letting y'all know, you got to allow lists again.
Yeah, if you need a very good allow list alternative, like if you've ever even opened a Google form, it is basically a Google form, but you can customize it and you can connect wallet and auth with Twitter and make sure they follow you and all of that stuff. So beautiful. I'm glad they exist. And they actually have a model that makes sense. They have it's a freemium product, so you can start for free. So you don't have to worry about paying right out the gate. If you want some special extra features, then they have payments. But so happy though that they exist. So if you need an allow list page, again, something that just works with Mintplex, Deform works with Mintplex.
Yeah, you don't need to buy pre-mint friggin' NFT to
1 ETH pre-mint. God, what a stupid business model. Jesus. No shade to anybody that might have a pre-mint NFT, but like, how often are you actually using that NFT? Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, but in regards to everything else going on, we're good now. I know on our last podcast we did talk about some of the implications of the banking and all that stuff. If you follow any other podcasters or TikTokers or YouTubers or whatever, they definitely spoke about it a lot. And we're going to reiterate, Mintplex is as healthy as you can be. And market conditions overall haven't really affected us that badly. We're still going to be here. We're still going to make shit. And is there anything else though, Tim, that you want
to? No, I mean, really, I think one of the things that we found from the Chainslayers demo is just like what the future of gaming and blockchain looks like, which honestly should just be the title of this podcast. Like the future of blockchain. Yeah, the future of blockchain games. So the Chainslayers game that we built, the contract is in every aspect, and I mean this seriously, the least important part of what we did. It is literally just it is actually using the standard, just like proxy contract. Like it is the simplest thing. Super simple contract. All it does is just track ownership. That's all the NFT is useful for. The actual power of the NFT, which is where we see gaming going, is the management and administration of attributes and all of that on a singular token that then moves around the blockchain like a regular NFT. And it augments the game. It is a game that happens to have a blockchain element, not a glorified blockchain demo that you can also play a game on. Because whatever the second item in that sentence is the least important one. And so far, almost every game out there that has to do with the blockchain is actually a blockchain demo that has a game, and not a game that has blockchain elements. And those are very different things.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing is at least our initial I guess feedback is just how much fun it is to not have to think about the on-chain aspects.
The first thing people are saying is, wow, this was actually fun. Like this was actually fun. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. That should be assumed.
That should be the first priority. In fact,
yeah, that should be the number one priority.
Like, do you build in microtransactions first, or do you build a game and then add microtransactions?
Exactly. Yeah, dude, it's just I don't know. The future of blockchain gaming. Honestly, I like. I'm going to say this before anybody else says it, and we don't have that big of a following. But when it becomes true, this will be a nice little historical marker. Dr. Disrespect's game will actually become the standard for how blockchain winds up getting integrated in games. And the reason that other people may have tried something like this and it didn't take off is because they didn't have the distribution that Dr. Disrespect has. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Disrespect is kind of like I guess he was originally a Twitch personality. He still streams, but he's very popular on YouTube now as well. He is leading the effort for a game that is a lot like the game Escape from Tarkov, which is basically like a first-person extraction shooter. You can just Google that. I'm not going to try to explain that right now. But basically, the whole concept is imagine playing a game that's actually fun, but the items you loot in-game are NFTs that then you can buy and sell and trade on a marketplace. We're talking about a decentralized CSGO at this point, right? Which is honestly what CSGO should have been doing anyway. Steam takes all of the revenue from box sales for CSGO. They get the lion's share of it. Move that to be decentralized, and now you have something globally accessible, essentially. And honestly, way more fun too, because people have more control. So I don't know. Yeah. I think it'll be fun because it's a game that'll be fun to play, that as you play, you wind up getting rewards that are on chain, which is much more powerful than you constantly having to grind for some, transaction that you're trying to accomplish, that's and the metadata and all of that stuff will update dynamically and stuff. I really do think that what they're doing is actually going to wind up being the standard.
Yeah. And the big thing too is that skins and cosmetics and whatnot that appear in these types of games are not supposed to affect the core gameplay experience. A great example is Riot, right? Like League of Legends or Valorant. You can play the game at a high level with no skins at all. Even Fortnite, most of the skins, everything doesn't affect core gameplay. And that's the point, is that a lot of people, as to fulfill their boredom or to fulfill, more content for a game, that's when they will want these cosmetics. That's when they will want all these other things. And giving them that option is really all that anybody's actually ever asked for. Anybody who's wanted an on-chain type of game, that's all they've asked for is, can I be able to transact or move my assets to other people? Is that something that I can do? Yeah. But generally speaking, you can't do that because that's not how these centralized games really make money,
No.
So
and it's not like they can't make a sale on the transaction. They definitely can. It's the same. It works the same exact way as an OpenSea being in the middleman. It's the same thing.
They'll have their own marketplace and they'll operate it
they'll
that.
They'll have their own marketplaces. Yeah. But it'll all operate on chain because it'll actually save them money doing this, because imagine a traditional database managing all of this. It's insane. It's actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper for them to just literally manage the actual item on chain and just read wherever it is, who owns it and what are the stats. And that's it.
Exactly.
So, and all of that's super easy to do with Mint Foundry because that's what we built Chainslayers with. And it literally saved us probably about, I'd say, anywhere from 10 to 20 hours of development time trying to build something that would have done this at a database level. And imagine trying to scale that to, hundreds of thousands of players. It's insane. Do it on chain, just works. Right.
Exactly. What we're telling you is try Chainslayers so you can get an idea of the future, and then check out Dr. Disrespect's game when it comes out, because that's really, like I said, Tim and I are very adamant that the future of blockchain, the future of NFTs, Web3 is going to be a mixed one. It's going to be less 3.0, more 2.5, or that type of vibe. So
blockchain is an improvement on the existing internet, not a replacement.
Yes, never should be. That's too much risk. Even though it's decentralized, it's too much risk still. So
too much risk.
But anyways, anything else, Tim, you want to add to wrap up this episode of the Mintplexity podcast?
No, that's it.
Cool. I have nothing else to add, but always test on testnet. Always test your Mint Foundry collections. It's free. You don't have to do it. It's free until you activate. So give it a try.
You can use it for free. So go ahead.
Do what you think. Our API, we have our API live. Go try something. Try to make something. Hell, just copy what we did with Chainslayers. It's not that hard. ChatGPT 4 is out. You can code something, have it connect.
Make a Pong game that tracks stats.
Exactly. Just go make something. Okay, that's all we're gonna say. Testnet, make something. Have a good time. This is what Web3 is all about, right? But with that, as always, follow us on all of our new socials. We have Mint Foundry, Chainslayers now, as well as our standard Mintplex NFT Twitter accounts. And if you're watching this via video, you're likely already subscribed to our YouTube channel. If not, probably should, because we're great and we're built different, and you probably want to keep up with that. So,
and anything you hear here is pretty much alpha for whatever's about to happen.
Yeah, we're pretty transparent on this podcast. To our investors' delight. Also, like we never reveal anything too anything too real. So, but we definitely want to keep y'all in the loop as we continue to expand everything that we're doing. And so if any of y'all are going to be in Outer Edge, LA, or maybe NFT New York, you might see us there. Say hello. If you have any questions, as always, use our intercom chat. Don't bother us. And to tease this out, we will be relaunching our Discord sometime in the next couple months with some new revamped life. And that is it. Thank you all so much, as always, for taking a listen as we continue to build and report on all the random shit we have to deal with being a crypto and blockchain company. As always, have a good one. And we'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.